Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and assemble our umbrella egg. And what we're gonna do first is form the base of the bottom. So you're gonna need all 8 of these pieces here, okay? And what we're gonna do is we're going to simply bend the little tabs over and we're gonna glue them to their neighbor. So we're gonna go ahead and begin by placing glue on just a couple of these tabs and just taking, and actually what we want to do is want to kind of start training these pieces here just to kind of help get their form. Okay, so you don't need to bend them all the way, but just kind of get them prepped and ready. And the key to this piece is just to make sure that everything is nice and flush here at the top and that you've got everything kind of butting up against that little score line for that tab. Okay, and just try to make sure that you're getting it as close to the edge of that tab there, and the edge of that score line, I should say, as possible. And just go ahead and just make sure that you give it enough time to dry. So you kind of want to work section by section. So I put glue on the first 2 tabs here and glued that section together. And then you can kind of bend that back, place a little bit of glue on this tab here, try to get it out to the edge too, and then go ahead and make sure that that is nice and flush and aligned there. And just hold that in place until it's dry. Okay. Give that a few extra seconds to dry, just like so. And precision is really your main focus here. This piece is more or less just the foundation of our little shape here. It's going to be covered up by some panels, but you still want to do your best. And then go ahead and place glue on the next tab here. I'm probably going to get my other glue bottle out because this new glue that we're using here, this Scotch Create tacky white glue, it's kind of coming out pretty heavy and I'm not a big fan of that, so I'm going to probably go over to my other glue bottle here. But in essence what we're doing is we're just kind of joining these pieces together, okay? And what we're going to do is you're going to just basically continue that process with the next piece, and you're going to join piece by piece just like I'm doing right now until you've got all 8 pieces connected. And as you go down the line here, just make sure that the angle of this piece is meeting up with the angle on the score lines of the next door neighbor piece, and then that way you start to get the right formation there. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and repeat this process until you have all 8 pieces connected. Okay, so I have the majority of the pieces put together here, and we're going to go ahead and close this up. I'm actually going to start here on the bottom with these 2 tabs. Just make sure that I get these aligned nice and flush. Just do your best to get those nudged up, right up against the score lines. And just hold that in place until it's dry. And then just simply work your way down and get these last 3 tabs glued. Just make sure that you've got them nice and aligned with the score line. Okay, and you'll see that it'll start to kind of take its shape. I went a little heavy on the glue. And get that last one in place. Okay, so you should basically have a shape like this. Okay, so just hold that until it gets a nice hold. And then you can go ahead and fold these pieces over. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take this piece and just glue that to the bottom. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put glue on all these tabs. And what I would do is I would start with one, just kind of make sure that that gets a hold, because that's going to help line everything up. And then I pretty much work my way around and just make sure that the opposite side gets a good hold. And then you can just kind of flip it over and push the rest of them into place from overhead. And then you can kind of flip it over and make any adjustments that you need to make. Okay, so now next what we've actually included are these liners that you can actually glue inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little streak of glue up at the top and then one at the bottom. And then you can kind of fill in the middle if you want, just to kind of help it get a hold. And then the idea is to, when you put this in here, focus foremost on the top, just to make sure that it's nice and flush with the top and that you have it centered. Kind of hold that in place and then work your way down and get that panel in there. Okay, and that's going to clean it up real nice. It's going to make it look nice and polished inside. Now you're probably going to fill it with like some crinkle fill or whatever. So if you don't want to, you don't have to, but again, it's a nice finishing touch. Okay, and then so that, you've got 8 pieces for that. I'm not going to go through that whole process. And what you can do next is you've got panels, okay, for the outside. There's 4 of one pattern and 4 of another pattern. And what we're going to do is we're going to take one of the patterns. I'm doing this in a light pink cardstock, because I don't want to use my nice pattern paper for the videos. And actually, what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of glue at the bottom. You don't need to put glue on the entire thing, just so that the bottom and top kind of stay aligned. And we're going to just make sure that that's nice and flush with the top. Again, that is your main priority, and that you have it nice and centered. Okay, and then once that's got a hold, just kind of run it like that. Oops, see, didn't have a hold. Kind of jumped the gun there. Okay, so hold that, and then as you're holding that, just kind of work it to the bottom there and hold that in place. It is going to have a nice little white border all around this decorative panel. Okay, so hold that in place and make sure that that gets a good hold. Okay, and you're going to repeat that process, and you're going to alternate these all the way around. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so once you have your panels in place, there is a decorative panel for the bottom. That's actually going to be covered up by the rosette, but if you don't want to use the rosette, we wanted to kind of finish it off. And then for the inside, we have a little panel piece that's going to get glued right to the inside there. So you want to kind of glue that down. Just make sure that it's nice and flush at the top. Okay, and then there's 2 pieces, and they should kind of connect perfectly. So just make sure that you get those glued down. Okay, so that's just going to kind of look like that, just like so. I'm not actually gluing it down, I just want to show you where it goes. Okay, so that's that piece. And then we have the little decorative piece that also goes around the perimeter. Okay, and you can see that you've got this little pattern here, okay, at the bottom. That's actually going to be facing down, and what you want to do is start on one panel and get that glued down and just work your way all the way around. The top of this right here, just below this loop, is going to be flush with the top of this egg here. Okay, so you just want to make sure that you get that nice and flush, just like so. So you're going to glue both of those pieces on. Okay, so there's 2 of those. So those are going to get glued on like so. Okay, so we've got the main shape, we've got the panels, the bottom panel, you've got the liners for the inside, and basically the process for the top of the egg is identical, okay? So I am going to walk you through that though and just show you real quick again. You're going to have 8 of these pieces, okay? And just go ahead and just fold everything just to kind of get everything nice and trained. Okay, so you're going to do that to all your pieces, and then we're going to simply take, and just like we did with the bottom, we're just going to glue each piece to the next door neighbor piece until we form all 8 sides. Just make sure you do your best to kind of get that score line on this one butted up to the edge of that as close as you can, without going over the score line. It should kind of be like right in the middle of that score line. If you get it precise, that's roughly where it should be. Okay, so you can pop that out, add glue. Don't do too much, and just pop it back under and form it. Again, do your best to get everything nice and lined up. And just hold it there, make sure that it gets a good grip. Okay, and then that last piece, get a little bit of glue on there, tuck it back under, and as you go along here, it'll start kind of forming and taking shape. As long as the edge of this piece is nice and flush and butted up against the score line, you know you're doing it right. Okay, so you're going to repeat that process until you have the top all formed. Okay, so I have the top of the egg almost fully assembled here. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and just place glue on this tab here. We're just going to close this up now. Okay, and just, the big thing to remember is to score and fold all, not score. The big thing to remember is to fold all of the tabs, okay, and all of the folds along the entire design, because when it comes to actually forming this thing and making sure that it has that really nice curve and nice look, and so it doesn't look too rigid, you want to make sure that you get all that folded, because then it helps the paper kind of fall into place based on how we designed it. If you don't fold all the lines, it's going to come out kind of rigid, and I'll show you the difference here in a second. Kind of did this on purpose to illustrate something. Now the bottom of this egg umbrella or umbrella egg goes together the exact same way, but I'm going to show you the difference if you don't fold everything. Okay, just one second here. So we've got this thing pretty much closed up now. Okay, and that looks really good. Okay, now what you want to do is you want to find the bottom of this thing, and it's this piece here. Okay, and that is just going to get glued into place. I'm going to start with just one of the tabs just to get this octagon glued in place. Just make sure that you got it nice and lined up there at the bottom. Okay. Give that a second to dry. And then work my way over to the opposite side. Get that nice and glued down. And just get it nice and centered there. Okay, and if you have to, which you probably will, just get your hand underneath there and push and hold that into place and hold it there just to get those two sections aligned nicely. Okay, and then you can work your way over to this opposite side. And what I'm going to do actually is, I gotta remember which side that was. I'm going to flip these tabs up from the inside and put my glue down in there. Okay, so you've got 6 more. I'm just going to add a little dot underneath each one. And I'm going to push those down from the inside just to help them get their initial grip. And then I'm going to flip it over and kind of shimmy them around to help it really get that shape that I want it to get. What we're going to do is, again, just like the bottom, we have liner pieces that go right inside here, and we can go ahead and just place glue just on the top and bottom, and then you can kind of fill in the middle a little bit. You don't need too much in there. And just make sure, the big thing is just to make sure that it's nice and flush here with the top and that you have it centered between each segment properly. Okay, so it's going to look kind of like that. Once it's nice and finished, you're going to do that 7 more times. Okay, and then we can move on to putting the exterior panels on. And all you really need to do is put a little bit of glue at the top, just a little bit at the bottom. You can put it all over it if you want. And then make sure that that T shape is nice and flush with the top. Okay, and just hold that in place until you get a good hold, and then just smooth it out and hold that bottom until it gets a good grip. Okay. Now you can put glue on the entire thing if you want. I don't really think it's necessary. And you're going to alternate the panels all the way around, so go ahead and do that. All right, so yours is going to have all these panels on it, obviously, and the little liners, or the little panels, the little edges, I should say, for these are shaped like this, for this piece. Okay, you're just going to fold at the score line. Okay, and you're just going to glue that into place like so. You've got 2 of them, so you're going to glue that in place. There's that second piece just fell on the ground, but you get the idea. And then you've got the exterior decorative piece, okay? And you are going to glue that. This is going to be like this. So you want to line it up like this, and make sure again that that bottom part is nice and flush with the actual bones of this thing. Okay, so you're going to glue that just like so, and then once you get that one into place, do the same thing with the other one. Okay, now this one does also have a decorative piece that goes on top in case you don't want to put the daffodil on there. Okay, and then finally, we're going to go ahead and put together the little stem piece and then connect these things together, and then we can show you how the rosette works. So we've got these 2 pieces. This is going to be a patterned paper. This is the bones of the little pole that goes through the center. Okay, so you just want to kind of fold these at the score lines. I'm just using my table just to kind of give me a surface to work on. Okay, you're going to form it into just a rectangle, I guess. And for the sake of time, I'm just going to use my tape gun here. You're going to want to glue it. Actually, I had a customer email me telling me that she actually uses a tape gun for a lot of stuff. Actually, not a tape gun, they're tape strips, and she finds that they work very well, and you don't really have to wait for things to dry. And she says that she has a lot more control over it. Okay, now there's 2 different size tabs. There's smaller tabs on top and larger tabs on the bottom. We want the larger tabs on the bottom because they're going to help with adding additional support to this thing. So the idea is to take and what we're going to do, and actually here, let me just show you this piece real quick here. This is going to be a decorative piece, okay, that is just simply going to wrap around our main pole. Okay, so it's actually 2 layers thick. It's really sturdy. It does kind of wobble a tiny little bit, but it's really nothing to be concerned about because it's very much in place. And the paper's not just gonna like simply snap off or anything. And then especially when you get some things in there, like little chocolates or even the crinkle fill kind of helps keep it in place. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna kind of shove this thing in there. It's kind of like we're rolling nori or something, or making a hot dog. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so that strip just kind of goes in there, and you can just kind of push that wherever you want. Okay, so you see that. And then we're gonna take the smaller tabs, okay, and we're gonna poke them through this guy here, okay? Then we're gonna glue them to the inside, like so. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Just gonna glue that in place. And this is where you really wanna make sure that you get enough glue on there so this holds really well, because this thing's gonna be supporting the whole project, basically. Okay, I'm just gonna push that down for a second, but not long enough to where it's gonna stick. Okay, and let that dry. And the longer tabs here, we're gonna shove those through this longer, wider piece, I should say. Okay, and we're gonna glue those tabs to the bottom of that. So again, this you will want to make sure you put a ton of glue on to make sure that it really gets a good hold. Okay, and just kind of flip them over real quick. I'm gonna use my table to kind of give it that initial hold, pop it off, make sure that it really sticks on there. Can maybe do it one more time. And just give that a few seconds to dry, maybe a minute just to be sure, okay? And then the idea is to then, we're gonna take glue and place glue on the bottom of this entire thing. Again, this you really wanna add the glue to, okay? Because this piece really needs to stick, bring it out to the edge, and I'm just gonna pop that right into the bottom of this guy. Make sure you've got it nice and centered in there, okay? And then you're gonna do the same thing with the top. We're gonna place glue on this top piece. I probably didn't give that bottom piece enough time to dry, so be more patient than I am. Just trying to get you through this so that you can make it. You don't have to sit here and watch paint dry, or glue dry in this case, and just get that aligned nicely. Just kind of take a look in there and make sure that you've got it nice and centered. Okay. And there we go. Okay, so give that a minute to dry. And there is that piece, okay? So here, I'm gonna twist this over so you can see kind of how that goes together. Okay, so that is how that's gonna look. Okay, let me show you the final one here. There it is. Okay, and then really all that's left to do is to create the rosette. Okay, and I'm going to show you how that works. And for the rosette, we've got 3 pieces like this. Okay, and we did ours in a striped pattern. It was actually Echo Park paper. So what you're going to do with this is actually you're going to alternate valley and mountain folds. Okay, just to kind of create the whole rosette shape. So I'm just kind of alternating here so you can see what I'm doing, just like so. I'm going to do this 3 times with all 3 pieces. Okay, so I'll show you that one more time. Just kind of taking one end, and then once I get the first one, I'm just kind of folding it over back and forth like so. Once you get the hang of it, you can do it pretty quick. Here we go. Okay, and one more. Yeah, these go really quick once you get the hang of it. And then once you have them all folded, you can kind of really push down. Just make sure that you've got them nice and tight. Okay. And then you also are going to have these two pieces. They're exactly the same size. One of them has the letter R, okay, and we're going to put that on top because your egg's going to go on top of that eventually, and it's going to cover up that R. And this one goes on the bottom. So the idea here is you want your texture side up, or pattern, whichever pattern you want that up. And we're going to take and we're going to glue these two pieces together like that. So basically form one continuous rosette, or just actually to form the rosette. Okay, for the sake of time here, I'm just going to use my tape gun. Probably going to want to use glue. That's up to you. I know some people are really specific and particular about which adhesives they use. You know, some people have actually said that. Actually, I read a post on Facebook today that someone that used the tape gun gave someone a card and it kind of started falling apart as they were giving it to them. So again, I usually prefer to use glue, and I did for the majority of this project, but for the sake of time, I'm just kind of using my tape gun here just to kind of show you what to do, and so you can get in and get out and get this thing done. Okay, so I'm just kind of gluing those two together, making sure that I've got them nice and aligned. Okay, now with rosettes, typically I do recommend, because they tend to want to kind of fight themselves, I would recommend probably hot gluing it on the other end. So the idea is to connect these two pieces, okay, to form your rosette, and you can kind of squish it in the middle. So of course I tell you to do one thing. Do as I say, not as I do, I guess is the saying. I'm going to go ahead and put a line of that on there just to speed it up. You can hot glue, you can glue if you trust your glue. Okay, it's up to you. Okay, as you can see, you see what I mean by it tends to want to fight itself. But you're going to want to connect those two pieces together. Okay, so there is our rosette. Now, this is where the hot glue kind of comes into place. Okay, so kind of take a look at it from an eagle's eye perspective and mush it around until you have it how you like it. Okay, and then this is where you kind of want to take your fingers and hold it like, let me see if I can show you with my other hand. Squish it and hold it until you have it how you like it. To me, that looks great. Okay. And with hot glue, go ahead and put glue, or with regular glue if you feel confident. Go ahead and glob some glue on there, and just center this as best as you can. Okay, and hold that down just to make sure that it gets a good grip. Okay, and you know, in this case the glue seems to be working okay. Okay, so there is the rosette, and then we've also included a little bottom piece for you just to kind of finish it off, and so that it's a little more level on the bottom. Okay, and I'm just going to glue that right onto the bottom. Do your best to center it, and just hold it and wait till it dries. Okay, so that's all good. We got a beautiful rosette, and once you're at this point, you can just go ahead and take your glue, get some glue on here, and kind of cake it real good, because this is also going to want to have a really good hold. Take your entire egg and just kind of take a look from the side there. Just make sure that you've got it nice and centered, and just push and hold that down until it gets a really good hold. Okay, and there you go. So let that dry, and your end result is going to look like this guy here. Okay, so your end result is going to end up looking like this. Now we do have a daffodil on top here, but we've got a separate video to show you how that goes together, as well as some inking techniques. So look for that on the product page. Stay on top of all things Dreaming Tree and engage with us today. Get the latest news and enter in our giveaways on Facebook.
Get inspired by following us on Pinterest. Be the first to see our new product launches on Instagram. Do you prefer Twitter? Yep, we're there too. Watch our beautiful product trailers and assembly tutorials on YouTube. For more information, visit www.3dsvg.com. Live, craft, love, and dream.